But this is Forever Mancunians, the show that celebrates the importance of community. And today, I'm going to say the original Mr. Manchester. Forget our gorgeous PM.
Yeah.
Mr. Clint Boon, Mr. Manchester, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's nice to see you again. Go back a long way, don't we?
We do go back a long way, and we'll go straight, we'll go all into that.
Yeah.
We've got a book coming out, which is exciting.
We've got a book coming out.
Yeah, I'm part of this, yeah. I hope you mentioned me in the book, yeah, because we did spend 7 years together.
We did, yeah, but the book only goes up to 2006. Oh, so sadly, Sophie, you're not in it.
The sequel, yeah? The follow-up.
Yeah, the sequel,
okay.
yeah. Well, the next one, this one's the Manchester Chronicles. I'm already thinking of one called the Radio Chronicles, because this book doesn't touch on my radio career at all, really. So,
oh, right, okay.
So that'll be another book, I think.
But it's about the music world and the change of Manchester music scene.
Yeah.
Which I sort of want to delve in deep with you on this podcast about community, because I feel like when you're involved in music in this city, that space becomes your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that word, I know we're not here to promote the book, but that word community comes up a lot in that book, because it's about the Manchester music scene from 76 through to 2006, and it's very much a community, very supportive. It was always supportive. All the bands were supportive of each other. Even when there was little spats happening in the press, there was still a lot of camaraderie and togetherness. And I also talk a lot in the book about growing up in Oldham and Shaw, which was very much working class community.
Well, can we jump into there?
Let's do that.
Because I want to know about little Clint.
Yeah, right.
Like, what was home life like for... Because I love your mummy so much. Always messaging me.
Yeah.
Home life growing up for you. Like, where did you get that sense of belonging as a kid?
So I was born in 1959. My parents had met in the cotton mills. They were both in the lilac mill is where they met. And we grew up literally in the shadows of cotton mills. Like literally the house that we lived in Shaw, if you looked out the front window or the front bedroom window, there was a red brick wall there like that, and that was the mill. That was the Rutland mill. And that was when it was a cotton mill. It was still hundreds of people coming and going every day, in to do the work in the early 60s, this would be. And it was, there was always that sense of community, always. But when we moved into the shop in A-side in 1964, I was 5-year-old, we moved into a corner shop. And that was right at the heart of that community, in the A-side, which was just like in between Shaw and Oldham. And that was when I was first aware of a community as such. People that they weren't just customers of the shop. They were neighbours. They'd very much they'd be knocking on the side door when we were shut in the middle of the night, coming to buy, can we get some potatoes, or can we get a bag of coal off you? We were right in the middle of that little community there, which was lovely. And I think my memories of not just growing up in that corner shop, but that time in Oldham, my formative years and on into my teens, was always... I'm not saying Oldham was better than any other part of the region, but it was just a really warm working class town where kids like me felt good and felt loved.
When you said it was the first time you felt like a sense of community, was you at that age when you realised that, this is us together, that we look after each other? Did you realise at that time?
Absolutely, yeah.
What was it? Just people handing stuff out, looking after each other? Just
knowing everybody's names. We all knew the old ladies' names that lived on the flats opposite the shop. Nellie Dunkley and her husband, Fred, and there's another Nellie that lived down the street. There was the Mills family. You're in and out of each other's houses, literally. It was that era where you'd just go and wander into people's houses for a chat.
Does that exist now, do you think?
Not really, not where I live and not in my world. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does in some countries or some parts of the British Isles, but yeah, I think a lot of that's gone now. I mean, there's a guy on our street called John Jackson, lived on his own, widower, I assume. Older bloke, he'd been in the war, he'd been in the Second World War, and he always smoked a pipe. And we'd go in and he'd tell us stories about the war. We were like 8, 9, 10-year-old, and we'd all sit around him in his house, and it stunk of tobacco, which was, I got addicted to the smell of it. I think I had a pipe by the time I was 9-year-old. I'd got a pipe. Me and my mate, Eddie Bellingham, we got pipes. I won't tell you how we got them, but Woolworths is sure, I owe you. But yeah, but he was like, and his house was full of wartime memorabilia. And we'd say, what's this dagger all about? And he'd talk us through it. And it was quite I suppose weird in some ways, wasn't it? But just to be able to just wander in and...
But no, with this, we had Mr. Gollins on our streets. And, you know, I was like an 80s kid. And we'd go to Mr. Gollins, and it sounds weird, he was an older man, like a proper granddad figure.
Yeah.
And we'd just go to, can we come and play Ludo with you? And it'd bring us in, and we'd all have a polo each.
Yeah.
And we'd just sit and play Ludo. But imagine your kids telling you now, I've just been to...
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that we've painted this fear in us?
I've just been looking at John Jackson's Nazi dagger. You know what I mean? But that's how it was. And that was, but we had a street, we lived on a street called Springfield Street, and it was a line of probably 15 or so. It's a terrace, but it was like cottagey sort of vibe. And it went off into a field at the foot of Oldham Edge. And yeah, my memories of it, that era, I know we weren't well off. Even when we had this shop, we weren't rich as a family. You know, we never had holidays because mum and dad couldn't afford to shut the shop. So we used to have day trips out to, you know, stately homes, and go walk around the gardens. Or I think we had 1 week in Rill, maybe a fortnight in Rill in the late 60s. That was our only proper holiday that I remember as a family. So we were very much, I was aware that we didn't have a lot of money, but we were always, you know, we were always in decent clothes. We always felt loved. I say we, me and my siblings, Craig and Linda, Boonie and Boonie. It was a nice time to grow up, and it was a nice part of the world to grow up in as well, because we had that, you know, we had that vast expanse of greenery that was Oldham Edge, still is. And then on the opposite side of the main road from the shop was the Pennines started there. So we had like loads of places to have adventures. And then there was the railway line, which most kids would go and play on there and get up to no good, but I won't condone that sort of behaviour anymore.
And what about school? Did you like school? Did you fit in?
I was happy at primary school. I went to St Joseph's in Shaw, which is a little school. Small class as well. I think we had 5 in junior 3, junior 4, 5 girls and 14 lads or something like that. So again, I could probably remember every one of those names, you know, even though I've not seen them since we left school. I was all right at primary school, but then I made the mistake of passing my 11 plus exam.
Oh, did you go to grammar?
Went to grammar school, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not know what was going on. I tell you, we took the exam, and I didn't know what the implications of it were, but it was basically Catholic schools full of working class kids. It was a way of filtering out, I think, some of the brighter kids and giving them a chance of a better education. Because I didn't want to go to grammar school. I didn't want to go to a school with all boys for 5 years. It just didn't really feel natural. But I did it. I went along with it, and you know, I did all right at some subjects, mainly creative stuff like art and music. But academically, I didn't really thrive, and I came out with not very good results. Because the norm there was to come out with like 8 or 9 O-level passes. I think I came out with 2.
And were you aware that you weren't necessarily doing all right?
I was aware that I wasn't
just get
happy.
through it.
I got through it by making my mates laugh.
Okay, so you had good mates.
I was the
Then
class
we had a community around you.
I had some good mates. I was the class clown, so I was always getting, you know, whipped or strapped or whatever.
The entertainer.
Yeah, but at that school, that was suppressed.
Right.
It wasn't encouraged in any way. And I remember, like, our careers teacher was Mr. Bates, aka Bully Bates. That was his nickname. But you couldn't talk to him about being a musician or a radio presenter or an artist in any creative sense. So I think my official careers aspirations when I was at school was definitely being a vet was one of the big ones. And then the other one was being an architect, bizarrely. I know one extreme to the other, but that's what I'd always tell my careers officer that I was hoping to do.
But you had that secret at the back of your head going...
I always liked the feeling of singing and making my mates laugh. Not at the same time, ideally, but yeah, I was always that kid in class that would be burping or farting to get a laugh, and then I'd be at the front of the class getting whipped. So I had a lot of that through, you know, between 1970 and 75.
So did you feel like you belonged in, like, amongst your mates, or did you feel like an outsider?
I felt I belonged in my little gang of mates at school, but as a school, I don't know. Some people have got really fond memories of that school, but mine is not my favourite 5 years of my life, really. But I think because it was so alien. Alien in that there were no girls there. I know I keep going on about that, but it's the years of your life where you're supposed to be learning how to have a relationship, a friendship, a conversation. And it was just, my mates were all, my mates from home were all in Our Ladies or Royton and Crompton. They were comprehensive schools, you know, and they were like, they knew how to be around girls, and I was just a bloody wreck. And every girl talked, I was like, what do you do? But no, it's just, it's got a great reputation, the school. It is a comprehensive school now for boys and girls. But yeah, my memories of it weren't my fondest, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But then from there I went to art college in Rochdale, and that was where I really came alive, and certainly in a creative sense, obviously, but as a person, that was where I was really encouraged as myself. And
do you think it's because as well you're surrounded by similar-minded people? Like I always find when I speak to someone who's creative, an artist or musician like yourself, that when they go to sort of like those educational routes and they surround themselves by creative people, it's like, you're like me as well, you're like me, and then you can blossom. Do you think you've got that sort of sense?
At Rochdale Art College, so this is like 75, I went September 75, I started there, and it was very much that, and I describe it in my book as being, I was aware that I was in a community of people that I knew were going to make the world better in their own little ways. All of these people, and most of them are not all successful, but they're all still artists and designers and photographers, and I'm so proud of that sort of. I'm proud to have been part of that, because I was thrown into that. I left the grammar school, not knowing what to do, really, not feeling good about myself. Really, you know, 2 O levels, and after 5 years in a grammar school, and neither of those was English or maths. I had to catch up when I went to art college. I had to go to one day a week. I had to walk across to Rochdale Technical College that was next door to catch up on my
did you
English.
have to resit?
Proper walk of shame as well.
Was it?
If you know Rochdale College, you've got the art college on the corner, which is now the Upward Hall College, it's called now. But then you've got a footbridge that connects on the 3rd floor, I think, to the Tech College. And that's where I had to walk every Wednesday afternoon to go and do maths and English, because I've been a naughty boy at grammar school and not paid attention. So, but yeah, the art college vibe was just everything I needed. And that was where, in a lot of ways, that's where, you know, as a creative person, I really came alive, and, you know, everything started there for me.
So let's fast forward to sort of you starting in Spirals and being in the band and stuff like that, and discovering like another community within Manchester that's well known, so that music community. What was it, or what is it still maybe? Or just tell me about your experience of like finding more of your type of people. What was...
That journey started originally because I saw the Sex Pistols in '76. I was still at art college, and they did the famous gig at the Leicester Free Trade Hall in summer, which I didn't go to, but they came back in December and played the Electric Circus, which is a little venue in Collyhurst. So I went to see that gig with a bunch of the art college student friends of mine, and that was the Pistols, supported by the Clash and the Buzzcocks and Johnny Thunder's Heartbreakers. And that was the night I decided, right, everything can go out the window now. Because at that point, I think I was thinking of going on to do a diploma degree at college and, you know, becoming an art teacher or whatever. But yeah, that night seeing the Pistols was like, nah. Life-changing. Everything just can go now. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. And I literally, starting the next day, started planning, changing my future, really. And I dropped out of college as soon as I could, which was a few weeks later. And then started just hanging out with bands in Oldham. Because I didn't know how to play any instruments. I didn't know how an amplifier works or what a microphone does. And I literally just started hanging out with bands so I could learn the trade of being in that world of music. And so that was... How old was you at this point? 17. Oh, right, okay. So then I started hanging out with these bands in Oldham and just being a groupie, just hanging out with bands, recording them, doing gigs. I think by then I'd learned to drive, so I started driving bands to gigs and just being around it all and learning and learning and learning. And that was, you know, again, talk about the community, that movement of bands in Oldham in the 80s. I'm sure all the other towns had something similar going on, but just scores of amazing bands playing the pubs and helping each other out. And, you know, I know in my case, I was definitely helping every band I could out in whatever way was possible. And then we soon started, I met the Inspirals during that time. They were a band already. And I had a little rehearsal studio set up in Ashton in the Guybridge Mill. And I'd set up this rehearsal setup and a little 4-track recording studio. So bands used to come to me to record demo tapes for them. And the Inspirals were one of those bands that called me up one day and said, we've heard one of the tapes you did for T'Challa Grid, that was another band in Oldham, and we'd like to record one for us. So next thing, I was recording them one Sunday afternoon. And then I went on holiday for 2 weeks, took the tape with me and fell in love with it. And it was pretty much when I got back, I said to Graham, it was his band, he'd started the band in '83. And I said, I really think if we bring this organ into the sound of what you're doing, it's going to sound pretty amazing. And we tried it, and that was it. And it was probably the biggest blag I've ever done in my life, blagging
I was
away.
going to say, you said you didn't play the instruments. You learned how to play the organ between... like seeing the Sex Pistols and then...
I'd not really had any lessons. I didn't consider myself to be able to play keyboards. I had some keyboards, and with the Inspirals, I just recognised that because they were quite a stripped-down punk sort of sound, I just figured that there was a band called The Seeds that I loved, still do love them, an American band from the 60s. And I just thought that sort of sound of, that garage band sound with my organ could sound quite retro.
So you blanked your way into a band?
There wasn't even a conversation of it. Like, there wasn't even a vote. Like, Graham at no point said to the band, right, is it all right if Clint jams with us tomorrow night? We just literally wheeled the organ in one night and started playing it, and that was it. And Craig, our drummer, he was only 14 at the time.
Wow. And
we always joked, because he passed away quite young, he only lived to 44, but we'd always joke that he'd always say, like, yeah, you're not even in the band yet. I've not been asked if you can be in the band. So it was always a conversation that there was never that discussion. It was just, it sounded great. So that's it. I'll see you next week. We'll do the same again.
And then you create this, because I feel like being in a band is your family, isn't it? Because you spend so much time together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I credit them in the book. I know the lineup's changed a bit over the years, but I credit the band in the book, in my thank yous, as the second family, which it always has been and always will be, because it's like those 4 or 5 people, whoever I'm with at the time, over those 40 years. Yeah. It's like very much a family, because you're going through things that, in fact, a lot of the experiences that we have as a bunch of musicians, you don't even have that with your actual brother or sister, you know what I mean? Like going to Japan for the first time and getting to #1 together, or signing a big record deal together, there's a lot of things that are quite unique to the life of band, or to the experience of band people. So yeah, it's very much a family, and it still is, and still think of it very much as that, even now. And as I said, the lineup's changed over the years, but all the other members that we've had along the years are still, brothers in some way, so part of my journey.
So then fast forward, you just mentioned the years of success that you guys had. The band split. How did that feel? Because you've got this family that were together. It's your community, second family, and then all of a sudden that's taken away from you. But then you also, as a performer, anyone who performs, there's this sense of ego that needs fulfilling. Not that it could be a massive show off. I understand where that is. You've got this, and that part of your identity is then taken away from you. Can you talk us through how you dealt with that? So
until mid-94, we were on a high. We were still, coming back with amazing albums and still having top 28, still doing Top of the Pops every time we put a single out. We did Glastonbury, I think, mid-94. We played Glastonbury. But towards the end of 94, our deal with Mute pretty much ended. It got to that point where the record label are allowed to walk away from the deal or give you another album to record. And Mute Records, the label that we'd been with since 1990, decided to move on and leave us behind, which was, at the time, it was all legit and, to the contract. They didn't officially drop us, but it felt like we'd been dropped, that's the way we took it. And so for a while, we were trying to get a new record deal. We had no management at the time, so we were trying to find a new manager. And it just felt like the industry had moved on. Well, not just the industry, but the man in the street had moved on. Grunge was massive. Yeah. Manchester, as we knew it, had sort of fizzled out. So we decided in spring of 95 to split up. And it was. Did you feel rejected? I think so, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say we probably all did. And I think that comes across in the book, the way I've written it, is that, for a while I felt like I was grieving it, definitely grieving it. But then I just picked myself up, and whether it's like I say, it might be ego, it might just be that I've just got this constant creative energy. I just need to be creating something, you know, most of the time. And if I'm not creating something, I'm thinking down that. Do you know what I mean? So I just carried on writing songs all through that period of being on my arse through, you know, through the 95, 96 period. I was signing on. I was signing on the door. I was getting income support.
God, that must have been mad.
A year before that, I'd been...
Top of the Pops to going in to the job centre.
Top of the Pops with Marquis Smith out in the fall. Yeah. We did a gig with Oasis at the... In fact, no, we shared a stage at Glastonbury with Oasis in 94. They were on the way up. We didn't realise that we were on the way down at the time. But yeah, things were going great. And then a year later, I was signing on. And it was a shock. And what gets you through it, I think a lot of it is self-belief, you know, that worst case scenario, I can go back to making furniture or, you know, working in a sheet metal factory, which I didn't really want to go back to either of them. But just try and do the creative thing first, try and create yourself out of this mess. Do you know what I mean? And that's when I started doing... I carried on writing songs and eventually put another band together, the Clint Boon Experience, but that was the period where I started doing bits of radio presenting and more DJ work in clubs. And
why did you do the extra bits? Was it for the money, or was it the Clint Boon Experience didn't have the Inspirals vibe?
It's dead easy answer. For 10 years, I'd done nothing but the Inspirals. And I think once I finished that grieving period of spring 95, when I realised, you know, the band's over, it's not going to happen again, probably. Then I just thought, just take the opportunity to try everything out.
Yeah.
And people were saying to me, like, I've never wanted to be a radio presenter, but somebody started saying, I can't remember who it was at first, we're doing an RSL trial broadcast for 1 month from the window of Oxfam on Oldham Street, for example. Do you want to come and join us? So I started doing bits of radio like that because I had time to do it. So that's what I did. I just really tried anything that was coming, like anything creative that was being offered. And then one of the things I got offered was to do some theme tunes for Granada, which I started doing and enjoyed it. I had a little studio at home that I'd built, and that started bringing some money in.
All right, okay.
Eventually I did the Engie Benji theme tune that became massive, and that made me a load of money at a time when I really needed it. But I think it's just going back to that, the realisation that I'm on my arse here, the country's supporting me. You know, I turned to the state for help. I was getting income support to help me with my mortgage. I was getting milk tokens so I could get free milk because I had 2 kids under the age of 3. So I really leaned on the government a bit when at a time when you could do that, and I was grateful for it because it helped me. It helped me to carry on searching for my ideal way out of it, which was through music and art, you know. And that's what I did. It gave me time to, you know, get back into being a recording artist and a radio presenter ultimately.
But then you put the Clint Boon Experience aside. Do you think you put it aside almost because it wasn't the same as Inspirals? I just want to come back to... The reason I'm asking you, because I come back to when I was a musician and it's all I ever wanted to do. And, you know, we did well in Manchester doing our own thing, and then the band sort of just like disbanded, and the grief thing is real, and I feel like I'm still grieving it.
Really,
like, I have this trauma, like I daren't go back to it because I miss it so much.
Really?
And I tried to do it with other musicians because we were all mates in the band that I was with, but it didn't feel the same as like my original band. It wasn't the same. Amazing musicians I played with, absolutely insane, but it wasn't the same as what I fell in love with, so I couldn't continue with that other project. Do you think
I think the Clint Boon Experience ended it was a different thing completely. I needed to do that band to get some of the things out of my system that I couldn't do with the Inspirals, because the Inspirals was very much, you know, a garage band with a strong 60s vibe, and, you know, we had a look and a style and a sound. When I started the Clint Boon Experience, you know, I'd collaborated with an opera singer, you know, who became Alfie Boe. Well, he was already Alfie Boe, but he was unknown. But I did a load of work with him on some of the tracks, and the stage show was completely quite outlandish, quite cabaret compared with what everybody else was doing. You know, I had a reindeer's head on the front of the electric organ, and we had a life-size cutout of me stood over here, and we had Catherine playing trumpet over there, and, you know, it was just like a real colourful sort of band where I got a lot of things out of my system that I couldn't have done with the Inspirals. But the reason that ended, it was purely because we didn't have a big record deal. We were doing a lot of gigs, but we weren't making enough money for me to be sufficiently paying the members of the band, really. So that was one of the reasons why we stopped it, because it coincided with, we had a real serious motorway crash, the band. And I was driving the vehicle and it was like horrific, and 2 people ended up out on the motorway, you know, like injuries, like lifelong injuries sustained. So that caused a lot of trauma in the band, and it became harder and harder for us to get to gigs.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, it just became, I don't know, it was an amazing band. The musicians were incredible. The records we made were probably the best records I've ever made. We just got to a point where we weren't making a lot of money. My DJ work was getting more and more lucrative. And then I started getting offered radio work as well. So,
did you feel at this time though that music was almost slipping away from you then? Or do you feel like you fulfilled that creative outlet that you'd get from music with your DJing, with the radio work?
I've always felt like I'm part of the same, even for the years when I've not been in a band, or the Inspirals have not done anything for, like recently, after Craig passed away, we had 5 years of not doing anything.
Yeah.
5 years of not wanting to ever work under that name again. You know, it was.
How was that? Can we jump to that actually?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was.
Because that is just the.
Yeah.
It
was. I mean, because it came. None of us knew what was coming. You know, he took his own life, Craig, and it was. There was no warning signs to us. There was no warning signs whatsoever, and it was obviously the band was almost inconsequential. That was like. We didn't even have to discuss that. We did what we could to, you know, involve ourselves with his family and help him as much as we thought we could do. The band was over, that was it. In my mind, we never even had that discussion, but we've all said subsequently that it was almost like, in my mind, it was like everything we'd done was like, there was a big line and that's where it ended.
Yeah.
And that went on for 5 years, you know, there was just no desire. And I remember, like, I live in Stockport on the flight path. My house is right on the flight path, like, planes come over. And I remember just sitting there and looking at planes thinking, I'll probably never get on a plane again with the Inspirals. It was that over. It couldn't have been more over, you know what I mean? And then that went on for 5 years. And I think it was sometime in summer of 22 or September 22, I got an email from Graham one Saturday saying, we've been offered this tour with the Mondays, Happy Mondays. Didn't even mention money, you know, it was just like, he was up for it. And I was just like, I just got the goosebumps right away, just thought, yeah, I can feel that, you know, it's like, and I said...
Because it's a belonging, right? Do you feel like it's a sense of belonging for you to be in that?
Yeah, that's never gone away. That's never gone away, it's never gone away. It's always been, I describe it in my book as being, like, whenever that band are on stage and I'm there, I can feel a big fucking ball of energy above us, like an orb, you know what I mean? It's quite a spiritual thing, and I do talk about that in the book, and that's the way I feel about it. And it don't matter who's playing bass or guitar, it's just that is what I feel when I'm on stage with that band. And even when it's been over and finished, I still, you know, there's a brotherhood there that don't go away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it did come back, you know, we got offered the Mondays tour, and Martin, our bass player, he just said, well, I'm not ready for it. He was having, his dad was poorly at the time as well, but he opted out and he just said, look, by all means, you guys carry on.
Yeah.
And that's when we got Oscar in on bass, my son, my little boy. And yeah, we did it. We talked Craig's family through the fact that we were going to get back out there and, you know, made sure they were aware of everything, because they didn't want to just, you know, them see suddenly we're headlining wherever. So yeah, it was a bit of a journey that we'd probably we would rather have not have gone through all that, you know, but I think we did the right thing, bringing the band back out and taking those songs back out on the road. Because at the end...
still going.
Yeah, I still said to people every day that the thing with our band, and I think it's becoming a bit more apparent with music in general, that people are coming to see Inspirals in our case because of the songs and the memories. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
nostalgia's big.
Despite the lineup changes and, you know, Steve sung this, Tom sung that, the songs, this is how it feels. You know, we just did 3 nights in Scotland last week. And it's like everybody in the room has got memories of that song. And, you know, whether it's somebody that was at university when it came out and might have been going through some grief or whatever, and or some kid that's grown up listening to his mum and dad playing it every night in the kitchen. That's what people come out for. And you see it with, you know, the tribute festivals that are very popular. I DJ a lot of these tribute band festivals. And you see it there, that people are coming out for the songs and the memories.
Yeah.
They're not bothered that it's not Ian Brown singing I Want to Be Adored. It'd be better if it was, but they're coming out because they want to hear I Want to Be Adored, and they want to remember growing up with it. So that's what I'm feeling that more than ever now with the Inspirals, that we created a great body of work that still resonates with people. And on top of that, we were part of a scene that is more loved now than it ever was.
That's what's wonderful, I feel like, when you see people who went from Manchester, that love of that community together, they still... You saw it with when Oasis did the reunion last year. It was a generation of music lovers that came together because they were there when it started, but then they bring their kids to be a part of it.
But the most amazing, the profound thing about it is they brought people together in a way that football doesn't, politics doesn't, whatever fucking motorsport doesn't. It's like, this was biblical, wasn't it? To use one of Liam's favourite words. Just like that, and I think it came at a time when the world needed it.
Absolutely.
Not just the UK, but the world needs it, you know what I mean? It's like...
I want to just jump into, because you talked about your DJing, you know, at nightclubs and stuff like that, and you've done it for quite a few years, and you've gone through a massive digital change since, you know, there was a time when no one had smartphones, taking them into clubs, to where now everyone's got smartphones and they're either out on them or they're not actually going out to clubs. Do you feel, as you've witnessed it now for, dare I say, decades?
Well, since I started...
How has it changed for you?
I started DJing in the first week of January 1976. Think about that. So I've been DJing for 50 years. So that was, we set up a mobile disco, me and my mates. Borrowed money off our mums and dads to buy the equipment. So we started DJing, that was very much vinyl, you know, playing records. Records that we'd bought, you know, that we loved, that we'd heard on the radio. So we were playing our own record collections to people at weddings and whatever for money. And that was a great start to my music career. This is before punk and before I was in bands. The technology's changed, but the buzz is still the same.
Do you find it?
I mean, I'm talking about when you're in the room with people that are at an event, a club or a bar or a festival or a corporate event. It doesn't matter what the platform is that you're playing your music from.
Right, okay.
It's like I said, those songs resonate with people, don't they? They've grown up with these songs. These songs have been in these people's lives forever. And
do you find the sense, though, if you go back and you think of like when you were DJing in like the 80s or 90s at clubs, you know, and even like early days of like Salf and stuff like that, when it was about the party, you didn't have any distraction apart from you, your mates, the music. Because I find if I go into a bar now and there's music and there's a DJ, or even a gig, you know, I feel like a lot of people are distracted through what's in their hand. And I feel like there's sort of like a death of something, a death of a community. Because when you're on the dance floor together, you're together, you know, never met this person, but oh my God, you're my new best mate. Because there's that connection. Do you feel, because you've witnessed these decades, that something's been taken away, or do you think it's still there?
Right, I think I do miss that, going into a room every week, the same room for 20 odd years, which sounds mad when you think about it, but that's what South nightclub was to me. You know, I made a lot of friends that were people in there that were just punters that became some of my closest mates. So I miss that, but I think when I do a gig, I win that crowd as quick as I can when I'm in the room. And some people think it's probably too much, I'm guessing, but I'm not scared of getting on the mic and getting them shouting Boon Army.
You're very good at that.
Wake them up, get engaged.
Party people!
Yeah, just because I still enjoy playing, even though it's the same records I'm playing week in, week out in a lot of instances. I still buzz when I'm playing them, you know what I mean? And I buzz that I'm making people dance, and I'm buzzing that people are wanting to come and see me or talk to me or get a selfie. And I think when you've got that love for what you're doing, that passion, whatever trade you're in, like you being on the radio, you will be the first to say you're not the best radio presenter ever. I'm not. But we love what we're doing, and people subscribe to that passion, don't they? And that's what I've always done with everything I've done. It's like, I'm not great at anything I've done, but I've done it all with passion and love and people buy into that. So that's what, when I walk into a room to play records as a DJ, I just win the bastards over as quick as possible.
So you have a long career doing all sorts of things, and we spoke about in Spiral Carpets, getting together, splitting, you losing a member, radio as well. So XFM for years, great drive presenter, listen to you all the time. That ended for you guys. So I want to sort of like go on to sort of like rejection for you in terms of the radio world, because we've worked together.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you? Because when you're in the radio and you're in that studio, you're pretty much by yourself, but you've got this crowd of people. So you've got this little family that you've never met before. They're all listening to you.
Yeah.
When XFM said, that's it, it's going massive, we're going to London.
Yeah.
All you lot, soz. Because that's a family. XFM was a family in Manchester.
Yeah.
You had Tim and Jim.
Yeah, and it's like I described to you earlier before we started into that, it was a dream team, wasn't it? And it's like occasionally in radio, in commercial radio particularly, you get those moments you think, I'm in the middle of something amazing here. Yeah. And I had it at XFM when we had Sam Davis was producing this show, and Gaz Drinkwater and Joe McGrath, all these great interns were coming in. I loved it. It was one of the happiest parts of my working life, that chapter of XFM. But then we could see, I think it's through 2015, wasn't it? We could see that the Radio X thing was starting to look like it was going to happen. Chris Moyles was being associated with the station on the internet, and then suddenly it was announced that Radio X was starting next week or whenever, and a lot of the presenters were completely out of work, I think, weren't they? But I got put on Sunday nights, late on Sunday night, I don't remember that. And it was almost, because of what I knew about radio, I've seen how radio changes very quickly, commercial radio particularly. So a lot of it was laughable, and I was the first one to laugh through it. Okay. So I went from being, I'll tell you, a day in my life when it was XFM drive time. And I used to drive into the park, what was it, Exchange Quay?
Exchange Quay.
And I'd drive in, and the security man had waved me in. All right, Mr. Boon. And I had this black people carrier that was a Chrysler, American-looking thing. And all the workmen had known who I was. And all, hey, Boon Army, and all that, waving me in. And then drive into the underground car park, because we'd have our own parking space there, get the lift up to the office, and everybody be high-fiving you as you walk through to the studio and all that. So it went from that to being me going in on a Sunday night on my own. It was like started at 10 o'clock or something, 9 o'clock. And I'd drive up to the Exchange Quay in the same vehicle, and there'd be a bollard and it wasn't even one of them, it was just a bollard in the middle of the road, traffic cone. And I'd have to get out, move it myself, like that.
Do you know who I am?
And I'd drive like 10 feet forward, then I'd have to get out and put the traffic cone back there, because otherwise the man in the watchman was going to shout at me. Yeah. Because he was a Sunday night man, he didn't know who I was from the drive time hero. And then I'd drive around, and I'd be sat there in this entire building, I'd be the only person in it. Yeah. You've been there. And it was, but I was the first one to, because I've seen it happen to other people, you know what I mean? Yeah. I've seen that's how it goes. So I just cracked on. I started podcasting at the time because someday else in the radio that I knew, Alex Jungus, recommended I should try podcasting. So I got into that, which was another amazing thing for me to learn about and do. And I started Storytime with Boon, which was like a very successful podcast.
Do you think there's this self-confidence in you then that sort of like just deals with rejection in a completely different way? Like, so for me, when I've been told, when you stole my job, kidding.
Did I?
Yeah, you
did.
You
did
steal my job.
Yeah, I did.
I take it really personally, and really, I go, I'm not good enough. Really? But you've got that self-confidence of like, right, so that's ended, onto something else. And
I don't even see it as rejection. I see it as change, I think, a lot of the time.
That's a good point too.
And I've done a lot, because a lot of the time you get, life's just ticking along nicely, and then something profound stops you in your tracks and crushes you. But you just, I've learned, I've been through that a lot of times, so I just work around it, just work through it.
Who do you turn to when those crushing moments happen?
My missus, Charlie Boon. Yeah, so we've been together 25 years, so that's the constant. I mean, obviously, in my professional life, I've got, my band members, you know, industry people that I work with. But yeah, just like any relationship, really, it's your partner, innit, that's always there, always on the front line with you. But I think I had this conversation with somebody a few days ago about, I feel like I've had a lot of, I might have had more than my fair share of, you know, those big losses, you know, big dark moments where you feel like everything, you probably just, the phrase pissing into the wind comes to mind on it, but whenever it happens, I just crack on, just find another way around it. Like when COVID happened, that little thing, at the time, I mean, obviously it was like the radio, I think our radio station
was on access,
it was coming to an end anyway, wasn't it? Or we were about to get laid off, we thought, when we went into the pandemic.
Then you're going to keep your job.
Yeah, then we got a last minute call, you can broadcast from home for a bit. But what I learned going into COVID, or my experience was that I saw all my DJ work, because that was my main income was DJing events and clubs. And at first it was like, oh no, I'm going to lose 2 months of work here. That became 16 months, which was a 6-figure sum of money that I didn't get.
Yeah.
That was in my diary, literally.
Yeah.
So that was, again, how are you going to get out of that? So I just started drawing cows then on canvases and selling them online for money to get through it.
You did. And talking of COVID, and you know, with the DJing thing, it's like a social life all the time, surrounded by people. Did you miss people at that time as well? I mean, because you've got your own army of kids at home, you know.
I loved the experience of being at home, you know, with my family.
Yeah.
We're fortunate. We live in Stockport. We've got a fairly big house, and you know, we weren't bouncing off each other. You could literally go days in our house without seeing, you know, your eldest kid. They're just like. But anyway, I loved that experience. But yeah, I miss being around people, and it was a shock when you found yourself coming out again. Like, we did a gig for the big charity streaming event.
United we
Stream.
Yeah.
And I had to go to Bury. Did you do that gig in Bury at the Met?
No, I did one at Castlefield.
Just to an empty room or with people?
I was on the street.
Right, okay.
On the people on the balconies.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the Met in Bury, the Bury Met, and broadcast with just a room full of technicians that were streaming the gig, they were filming it, and it went out around the world. And the trip down the motorway from Stockport to Bury was mind-blowing because there was just not a single car on that trip. And then you get to Bury and there's a guy that comes and stands well away from me saying, right, Clint, follow me, we're going in this way. And you walk into this room that's black and there's a stage and you've got a few cameras that are remote because the technicians are sat over there at the other end of the room. And then 3, 2, 1, you're on. Boon Army.
Yeah. So you missed the people. Did it feel weird to do that?
Weird, but you just crack on with it, don't you? I did it and you know, I'm proud of what I did. And then I started doing some online DJing from my studio at home.
I remember
to people's front rooms.
Didn't Charlie join you?
Well, we started doing Disco Rescue. That was like every Friday night for 71 weeks we did that.
Wow.
See, that again, that wasn't planned. That was like, I'd helped to create this thing called BeatStream, which was a world first in terms of live streaming events, audio only, not visuals. It would have been the first audio streaming platform that had a paywall attached, right? So the guy that had come up with it was an old mate of mine, Matt Walsh, he created it. I was helping him to market it and get it to a bigger sort of audience. The first gig we were going to do, I think it was Blossoms at the Arena in Manchester, which would have been happening in March of, was it 2020 when the pandemic started?
Yes. Yeah. It's all coming back to me now, this BeatStream.
So we had BeatStream ready to go.
Yes.
And I'd already done a couple of test broadcasts from South Nightclub. And then suddenly the COVID happened, everybody stopped being able to go out. The Blossoms gig got pulled at the Arena because that would have been the flagship event that launched BeatStream into the world. So we go into COVID with this platform fully created and ready to go.
This is where you could go see a gig anywhere, BeatStream. Was that the premise? Like you could be at a gig, you could watch a gig,
as long as we had somebody there transmitting the gig.
Yes, yeah.
Like the DJ could be plugged in and transmitting it. So it meant that from the first week I wasn't able to go to South, which would have been a Saturday night. On the Friday, me and Charlie, I went down to do a show. It was going to be on my own radio show with a microphone, taking requests over Twitter. I went down and people had bought tickets in advance for it. So it meant we were getting a bit of money from it as well. And on the first day, within the first half hour, it was like Twitter was like raining, people, requests. And Charlie came in with a drink for me and said, how's it going? And I said, it's good, but can you start writing down these requests? 'Cause I can't keep up. So she sat there with me and started writing the requests. And then the next thing, we're doing a couple of links together. And it went that well on the first night that we carried on doing it for 71 weeks.
That's
I think it was
brilliant.
1 week where we missed where there was a death in the family. But that became an institution in its own right. It's just me and Charlie every Friday night.
And it's weird how that community can be online as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people blame sort of digital, this era that we're living in, like the lack of community, but
It was there.
there is a community
Yeah.
online as well that you
And
can
people
sort of
met
tap
even,
into.
I know it's a big cliche, like people met in South Nightclub on the dance floor. They met, they started seeing each other, they ended up getting married, and then some of them, when the kids turned 18, they brought them back to South to meet me, because I was still DJing there. That even happened with Disco Rescue. To say that everybody's remotely hundreds of miles apart,
Yeah.
people met in that community. There's like a couple of romances that started that are now fully physical, face-to-face romances, rather than
online.
But again, it comes back to what you talk about, community, innit?
That's
It's such an essential part of... None of us want to be alone. I don't want to be alone,
No.
you know what I mean? And sometimes you find yourself alone in a job, whether it's driving for 6 hours to a DJ gig or writing a book on your own for 6 hours a day for 3 years, whatever. You get those lonely moments, and we all want to be with somebody, don't we, really?
I always ask, do people need people?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
They do, don't they?
Yeah,
They do.
absolutely.
And you've always said that, you know, it's the people who make Manchester.
I say that a lot, yeah, absolutely. I said it the other day, and I think I said it the other day in an interview, didn't I? But we're fortunate. We're not just people. We're a different sort of people. I know that, you know, Scousers said that, and Brummies do, and Geordies do. But there's something. There is a warm community, and I'm not saying we're better than anybody else, but I think it's warm enough and supportive enough where people like us can thrive in whatever career we fancy doing. I'm going to draw cows on canvases for a bit. That's fine. We'll buy them off you, Clint. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's. I think we're lucky to be here, aren't we, really, in this part of the world?
I love it. It'll always... I'm not born here,
Right.
but it's always my home.
Yeah, totally.
Always.
I feel like as well that even though I'm from Oldham, it's still very much part of the
It's
Manchester
Greater Manchester.
metropole. Is that the word, metropole? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
It's
the
part
border,
of
isn't it? It's
yeah.
part of Great Manchester.
But yeah, it's just, and I say at the end of the book, one of the last things I write is like, I consider myself to be so fortunate to have been born in the year I was born, to the mum and dad that I was born to in this part of the world, you know. It's like, I don't think I'd have been able to be who I am.
Where are you the most happiest? What are you doing?
What now?
Where are you the most happiest? Yeah,
It's funny, isn't it?
And who are you with?
At the moment, well, I love being on stage with my band. That's like more than ever. I love that more than ever. I love stepping onto the tour bus at the beginning of a run of gigs because blokes my age shouldn't be doing that. And when I say tour bus, I want to about the bus that's got the kitchens in it and the beds and the lounges, the big sleeper bus. That's still, to me, when I step on, that's what I set out to do when I first joined the band, I think. But I think the main one at the moment, because my life's so busy with DJing and band stuff and whatever else, radio sometimes, just being at home watching Netflix with wife, you know, that's like it's my heaven at the moment, that. Dog there, licking itself.
Yeah.
You know, some decent programme on telly. Bottle of red wine.
Perfect.
Charlie Boon.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And what makes you Forever Mancunian, Clint? Mr. Manchester, the OG.
I would never use that to describe myself. I can think of at least 20 other people that I'd put before me. But
Really? No.
I think, I don't know, what was the question?
What makes you Forever Mancunian?
I'd probably say some of the music I've created is so rooted here. You know, whether it's... Yeah, because I think some of my best songs are written about this part of the world, aren't they? So Joe was an homeless man in Ashton that I knew. Sackville was written about the sex workers on Sackville Street when we had an office there back in the day. This How It Feels, kitchen sink drama set in this part of the world with a nod towards Mosley in the second verse, I think. It's just... yeah, I think I've written about it enough that, yeah, I'm forever a Mancunian, you know. I've written songs about it. That'll do.
Forever Mancunians was recorded at Manchester One Media. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow Forever Mancunians wherever you get your podcast.